So, if you're learning a new language, you've probably hit that wall. You know the one? The intermediate plateau. It's that super frustrating spot where you know tons of words, you get all the grammar rules, but when you actually try to speak, it's like your brain just freezes up. You're just wading through mental mud. Well, today, we're going to break down exactly why that happens and, more importantly, give you a real, actionable plan to break through it.
Maybe this number feels a little too real. You walk into a speaking test, you've studied for weeks, you know the material backwards and forwards. But then the score comes back and it's just a total gut punch. It feels like what you know on paper is light years ahead of what you can actually do in a conversation. But here's the thing, this isn't about how much you know. It's a symptom of how your brain is processing the language. So what is this bottleneck, really? I mean, if it's not a lack of words or grammar, what's physically slowing you down? Well, the problem isn't her memory. Nope. It's the pathway your brain is using to get to that memory.
We call this the fluency bottleneck. You know that feeling, right? That split-second lag where your brain is scrambling to listen, understand, form a thought, find the words, and then speak, all while the conversation has already moved on. It is absolutely exhausting. It's a total cognitive overload.
And this really gets to the heart of it. We have to stop blaming our memory and start looking at our method. Because the way most of us are taught to learn a language actually builds in a huge flaw from day one, a bad habit that just sabotages our speed. Let's give this bad habit a name. Let's make it the villain of our story, the mental middleman. This is that little translator that lives in your head, the one that insists on taking every single thought and routing it back through your native language. At first, it feels really helpful, right? But pretty soon, it becomes the single biggest thing holding you back from real fluency. Okay, so look at this. These are the two paths your brain can take. On the left, you've got the translation trap. Your brain sees a concept, thinks the English word dog, and then finds the target word perro. That's 3 steps. Now look at the right. That's direct thought. Your brain goes straight from the concept of that furry animal right to perro. 1 step. By firing that middleman, you are literally cutting your cognitive workload in half. That is the secret to speed. But hey, the cost here isn't just speed. Languages just don't map onto each other perfectly, word for word. Take the German word bitte. It can mean please, but it can also mean you're welcome. So if you're just translating literally, you might thank someone, and they'll say what sounds like please back to you. It's weird. Your mental middleman has no idea about context, so relying on him is a surefire way to sound like a robot. So the big question, how do we fire this middleman? Well, you can't just tell your brain to stop. It doesn't work that way. You have to actively build new, faster neural pathways, basically new superhighways for your thoughts that make thinking directly the default. So let's get into 6 concrete strategies to do exactly that. First things first, and this one is huge. You have got to kill the bilingual vocabulary lists. I'm serious. If your flashcards say dog equals perro, you are literally training your brain to take that slow, 3-step path. You're reinforcing the very habit you're trying to break. The whole goal is to connect the new word directly to the meaning itself. Here's a simple drill you can do, literally right now. Look at your desk, but here's the trick. Don't think the word desk. Instead, think about what it is, its function, a flat surface for working. Then say the word in your target language, and maybe a tiny sentence like, este es un escritorio. By doing that, you're linking the word to the actual physical object, and you've completely bypassed your native language. Okay, the next big mental shift is to stop learning individual words. Think about it. Native speakers don't build sentences one tiny brick at a time. They grab whole pre-made phrases, we call them chunks, right out of their memory. And that is a massive, massive shortcut for your brain. So instead of just memorizing the word decision, learn the whole chunk, make a decision. Instead of just the verb know, learn the entire frame, as far as I know. When these chunks are stored in your brain as one single unit, you don't have to piece them together. You just grab the whole thing and go. It's a game changer. All right, strategy 3 is all about creating immersion in your study time. As soon as you feel ready, you need to ditch your bilingual dictionary and switch to a monolingual learner's dictionary. Why? Because when you look up a new word, the definition is also in the target language. This forces your brain to build connections inside the new language instead of constantly running back to your native language for help. Okay, this one might feel a little intense at first, but trust me, it is ridiculously effective. Find a podcast or a video in your target language and crank up the playback speed to 1.25. At that philosophy, your brain physically does not have time to do the slow, three-step translation. It's forced to either understand directly or just get left behind. It's basically like weight training for your brain.
You know, a big reason we translate in our heads is plain old anxiety. That fear of making a mistake in front of another person makes us retreat to the safety of our native language to plan out every single sentence. A fantastic way to break that cycle is to practice in a low-stakes environment, like an AI language app. You get all the benefits of spontaneous conversation, but without that paralyzing fear of being judged.
And finally, you have to start thinking in the language. The best way to do that? Hijack that little voice that's already in your head. As you're doing stuff around the house, just narrate what you're doing in simple sentences. I am making coffee. Also, adopt the simplify first rule. If you can't think of the word for exhausted, don't freeze up. Just say, I am very tired, and keep going. Honestly, a lot of fluency is just the art of simplifying on the fly.
So, we've got the strategies, but just knowing them isn't enough, right? Knowledge without action is pretty much useless. So let's bundle all this into a daily protocol you can follow for the next 30 days to really forge these new habits into your brain.
Here it is, your daily checklist. And every single item here is designed to attack that mental middleman from a different angle. Switching your phone's language, that's digital immersion. Narrating your morning plans, that's hijacking your internal monologue. The high-speed podcast, that's your cognitive weight training. And talking out loud, even to yourself, that's building your speaking muscle in that low-pressure sandbox. See? This isn't just a random list. It is a full-on workout for fluency.
I want to leave you with this one idea. That mental middleman, that translation habit, it actually served a purpose once. It was the scaffolding you used to get started, to build the foundations. But as you've gotten better, that helpful scaffolding has turned into a cage, and it's trapping you at that intermediate level. These strategies, these are the tools you need to dismantle that cage. You see, achieving fluency isn't really about learning more words. It's about fundamentally changing how your brain gets to those words. It's about making the transition from being a visitor who's constantly translating all the signs to being a resident, someone who thinks and feels and lives directly in that new world. So the only question left is, are you ready to make that move?